Welcome to Stewardology, a podcast where two worlds collide. In this show, financial advisor Tim Russell and Pastor Drew Gysi are joined by me, producer Tyler Rutherford, to explore the intersection of financial stewardship and theology. Their unique perspectives help Christians and churches understand and apply a biblical framework for everyday financial decisions so Christians everywhere can grow in their walk with Christ through biblical stewardship. Before we get started, we just wanted you to know that the topics discussed in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific investment advice or recommendations. Investment and investment strategies involve risk, including the potential loss of principal, and past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Securities and advisory services are offered through Genius Wealth Management, member FINRA, and SIPC. Without further ado, here are your hosts, Tim Russell, Drew Gysi, and Tyler Rutherford.
We have a book. The Good Steward, Biblical Principles of Wealth Management is available for sale anywhere good books are sold. Go online to Amazon.com or your favorite book retailer and order a copy of The Good Steward. This book contains many of the core lessons that we teach in our ministry side in an expanded, augmented way that enables you to go deeper and wider in the message of biblical stewardship, fueled by the gospel that enables you to live an authentic life to honor and glorify God in the world and with your family. Go out today and buy your copy of the book. It's available in print, Kindle, and audiobook anywhere good books are sold. Thank you so much and enjoy this read. The Good Steward, Biblical Principles for Wealth Management.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Stewardology Podcast. My name is Tyler, and I'm here with Drew Gysi.
Hey, guys.
And Tim Russell.
Hello, hello.
You know, this podcast is actually, as you guys know, our audience might not, but it's an outflow of our in-person ministry, the Stewardship Lifestyle Seminar. I mentioned it, I think, in the last episode that we can't be in every church every week. So we created this podcast to be able to get this message of biblical stewardship out to as many people as we can. But what about the times where we can be in churches every week? There are some funny stories. There's stories of impact that we've seen across the country. And we figured it'd be a good time to take some time and talk about these things, talk about the impact that God is making through this ministry that we're privileged to be a part of. And, we wouldn't have it any other way. So, yeah, we want to brag about what God's doing all across the country. And Drew's finally in town. He's always on the road.
It's been a crazy, I'll say, year and a half in a good way where God is working in churches across this country.
He's opening doors.
He is opening doors wide open, and greater ministry is happening. Yeah. I'm not road weary. I'm just I got some road rash. Maybe I'll say it that way, as bikers like to say it.
TMI.
So no, it's not that kind of rash.
Yeah, we don't need
so it's not that kind of rash. But the bottom line is, God is doing such amazing work in churches that we have had the joy to partner with in helping the believers become even better stewards, and the church moving it toward being fully funded for greater gospel ministry. That's what wakes me up every day. That drives me, because if we can have an individual in the church go from white-knuckled, holding on to everything they have with a tight grip, to an open palm where God can drop his resources in and have it flow over and have it come to that church so greater work can happen, where people can come to know Christ and grow in Christ, I will take as much road rash as possible for that purpose, because I love the ministry that we're doing here. It's a lot of fun, and periodically my wife gets to join me. So, but
that's cool.
Yeah, that is a good thing.
We have some personalities on our team, and believe it or not, when we're not actually working, which when we're at the seminars, they're long days. You know, they're 13 to 16 hours.
It's usually
sometimes.
A minimum of 12.
Yeah.
And it can be up to 13, 14, 15, 16 hours a day.
Yeah. Believe it or not, though, when you guys aren't actually working and teaching, you have some fun.
What? We don't work sometimes?
Yeah, there's some funny story. I think, was it you, Drew? You were telling me a story about Angel one of our teachers and counselors here. You guys were on the road in like the middle of the desert.
Yes.
I saw like a store that had a ridiculous sign.
Okay, I just have to admit, I was not driving. I was not driving, but we were out in the Arizona area and we were running down this highway, literally desert on both sides, and then all of a sudden there's a store on the side, and it pops up, and Angel, I am not kidding you, we're on the highway, and he stops in the middle of the highway, like we are parked. I'm there like, what are you doing?
It's like a 4-lane highway.
It's 2 lanes. It's a desert road, two lanes, but it is a clear highway from the Phoenix area down to Tombstone, Arizona, and we're there, and it's like, what are you doing? Well, he saw the store. I'll name it. It was this was back in the election days where it was a Trump store, and he had to stop in there. And so we're sitting in the middle of the road for over a minute. I'm there like, Angel,
you're gonna get us killed.
Pull off to the side of the road. Go in the parking lot. Just
what do you want on your tombstone?
Make a choice, man.
I don't want a Trump sticker on my tombstone, okay? Not on the tombstone. But the thing is, he had to stop in there. So, but I will tell you, I felt like I took my life in my hands at that time, because we're sitting there, and you know how you get these hills in the desert? Yeah. I'm looking in the rearview mirror, and he's there like, well, there's no traffic, and there's a car coming over. You don't know how fast they are coming, but it's coming over. I'm there like, either get on the side or get in the parking lot, buddy.
Yeah. Was this the same trip that you guys had? Was this the same trip you did, the spicy chicken?
Oh, you're bringing that one up. Oh my gosh.
That one was a riot.
Okay, this one, I actually have a picture of proof. So Mark is part of our team too, and Mark is great. I love working with Mark and Angel. Mark is an EA, an enrolled agent with the tax department, so he gets and knows his taxes, and Angel has his master's in taxation. So these two talk about taxes all the time, and I love having that conversation with them because I'm learning so much from them. But we landed, and we went through the seminar. At the end of the seminar, they decided that they wanted to get some chicken. There's this place in the Phoenix area. It's called Houston's Hot Chicken. Mm. And Mark was telling me about it. You got to go. And they're like, well, see, I operate with mild to nothing spicy.
Ketchup is spicy for you, let's face it.
No, I can handle ketchup.
You're what the youths might call vanilla then.
I love vanilla. I love peanut butter better, but the bottom line is they have this graduation scale with the Houston's Hot Chicken, where it's just basically just regular chicken with some breading on it. Then they got some like honey and honey mustard, and it goes all the way up to the scale. The final one is, Houston, we have a problem. And I am not kidding you, totally serious. This is not an endorsement of this chicken place, but you have to sign a waiver if you order that.
If you order Houston, we have a problem?
If you order Houston, we have a problem. You have to sign a waiver.
We are held harmless and not liable for your stupidity. Trying to take your own life into your own hands. If you die of cardiac arrest, we will not be held liable.
That's right.
That's probably happened, honestly.
Well, the thing is, I wound up talking to the manager. I'll get back to that in a moment.
Oh, no.
So Mark and Angel both signed a waiver and they get Houston, we have a problem. So I'm there. I got, I think, like honey mustard or something like that, and that was my max. These guys take it. I'm watching. They're not picking it up with their hands. They're cutting it with their knife. They put it in their mouth, and they're like, "Oh, this isn't bad." 30 seconds later, grown men do cry. Oh my gosh, the tears that were flowing, and then they wind up both putting more in their mouth. The tears were tripling down, and did
it taste good at least?
I don't know if you could taste it. I
don't think they had any taste buds left. So and finally, Mark says, "This is enough. I need something to cool down." So he goes up, and the manager's watching. And he comes on over with a free milkshake to kind of cool down the taste buds and cool down the mouth. They devoured that thing. Both of them were like slurping this thing up with spoons, grabbing what they can. And Angel kept on eating it. So he had to go up and get another refill. They just gave free milkshakes or at least they did to us. No. They gave free milkshakes.
There
to
goes
that.
the budget, the calorie budget.
But oh my gosh! And I got a picture of Angel. He is welling up in tears. He is losing it.
Is that going to go on the show notes page?
Yeah, we might have to.
I have it. I will gladly give that up. I'm telling you. And we were just out there last week. We went out there to eat, but we were out there. We touched in. We flew in, and the next morning we were going to have a seminar. And I'm there like, guys, do not get to Houston. We got a problem. We got a seminar tomorrow morning. We got to be on our A game because those guys were toying around with getting it. I'm there like, don't go there. Now, I mentioned I get back about the manager. I wound up talking to the manager, and it is not uncommon for them to have to call an ambulance. And they will have people carted out.
That's crazy.
So he said it wasn't. He says I've seen this more than enough times. We free milkshake for sure, but I'm telling you, I mean, people think they can handle it. I think Mark and Angel did okay, but I'm not a fan of seeing grown men cry over food. So I'm just not there.
That's crazy.
It was beyond crazy. So
well, that sounds like a lot of fun, but at the same time, when we're at these seminars, we get serious. We put the boots on the ground.
We do,
and we get the work done, and there's some real cool impact that is made at these seminars. So Drew, why don't you walk us through some of the things that you've noticed, the stories that you've heard, the impact that you've seen? I think it'd be really great to hear a little bit about it.
I think one of the most fun stories, and I've had this so many times in the 9 coming into 10 years of doing this, it's when I'm sitting down with a man or a woman and they talk about how much they love their church. And we've served some great churches out there. And they love their church, but they're not able to give, or they're not giving. And we sit down and we work through the budget, and I'm talking through things. And by the time we're done on that personal stewardship review, they're able to realize that they can start the journey of giving. They may not be able to jump right in at that 10% because of some of the things they've done in the past, but they can start that journey. And I'm telling you, they walk out lighter and excited because they love their pastor. They love their church. They love the ministry that's taken place. That part I so enjoy because they are choosing not to give prior to that meeting. And now with that meeting, they're saying, I can't not give. I got to change my habits, my life, and what I do for that. So that's one of those really awesome, joyful moments. And I will say, I've said this many times before, that's that proverbial cartoon light bulb that goes on top of your head. It like blinks on when they start realizing that how they use their money, how they're spending their money greatly impacts their family when they hear it from somebody else, kneecap to kneecap, and how it impacts their church through their lack of generosity to their church. When they realize that's what's happening, that light bulb goes on. It's like, I got to change because I love my family. I love my church. I need to do something different today. I love those stories, and we have quite a few of them. I would say almost every church we get that opportunity. But then I get those sad stories. The sad stories of people who have massive income. We're talking 6 figures, middle to high 6 figures, but they're burning through it like an inferno. And they're not able to give to their church. They're not able to even set themselves up for retirement. And they're my age, 60 plus. They're burning through all this cash, and they're not willing to make a change. And honestly, I sat with a handful of them through the years, and I can say, well, if you do this, you can then put money away for retirement. And I think you could, in the next 5 to 10 years, you could actually have a good catch up for your retirement if you change the way you're living. But it falls on deaf ears. And it breaks my heart because they will have to work the rest of their lives. And with some of the people, the roles they were in, the jobs that they were in, they're probably only good for another couple of years at that kind of income, and they're going to reduce that person out, get somebody cheaper in there. That's typically what some of these businesses do. Get somebody else in there, and they've built such a high standard of living, they will never get back to that point. And that breaks my heart, especially when you start sharing different things and you get into some of the fine-tooth pieces with them, and then they all of a sudden go back, well, oh, I need to be able to pay for this. It's like, didn't you just hear? You can't afford that. You don't have the money. You're broke. Well, look at all we bring in. You're broke. It's all owned by banks.
Yeah.
And that's devastating.
That's a big reason why, like, we spend time here as a staff praying for the hearts of the people that will soon be going through a stewardship lifestyle seminar, because money is such a hard topic to talk about and to deal with, and it's really easy to get defensive on it and to kind of close out. And God has to do that work of softening the heart, because, like you said, there's a lot of cases. There's many cases where you give good, solid, biblical, wise advice, and sometimes they just want to do what they want to do, right? And it's hard. With how difficult money is, I'm convinced that it's got to be a work of the Spirit,
yes,
to really cause that change and transformation that they need.
Amen.
Yeah.
Tim, you've been doing this a lot longer than either of us. You grew up in this world. What's either a fun story or...
Well, I've got two. Yeah. I've got a fun story for me, and I think it was really fun for the couple I met with. It was a pastor, actually, pastor and his wife. We were doing a seminar at their church, and they came in and said, we want to do a review. So I sit down and work through their budget and their system with them, and they're making okay income for pastors. They're not living a lap of luxury, but they're also not like subsistence.
Yeah,
and they're given a lot. Their giving by percentage was probably 20 to 25% of their income.
Wow,
really generous folks. And as I'm looking at the broader scope of their financial picture, like their credit card debt was like pretty big.
Wow.
And I'm trying to figure out, where's this debt coming from? And I'm starting to tally up their budget. I'm tallying up their income, and they're essentially tithing on their credit card. Now, obviously, they're not actually tithing on the credit card. They're giving out of cash, but then they're going into credit card debt to finance the rest of their life. They're giving so generously, but they're not then curving their spending. So they were essentially going into debt for the glory of God, quote unquote, right? And causing themselves great financial hardship and distress. So as I'm sitting down with this couple and I'm looking through their budget, I'm saying, okay, here are the things we're going to do. We're going to trim this back. We're going to pull that back. We're going to get rid of this. They had, in their particular case, they had life insurance with cash value that they could replace for a fraction of the cost, access the cash value to then drop a stick of dynamite on their debt, knock that loose. I put a plan together for them where they could be debt-free within the matter of, I think it was 2 years or 3 years.
Awesome.
If they really buckled down and they had to cut their spending back to their tithing back to a tithe, not 20% or 25%. They cut it back to just the tithe, because here's the thing. They had the gift of giving, but their gift of giving was curtailed by their propensity for spending. And once we got the whole financial ship in order, we got their spending back into line, we're going to be able to knock out their debt. And once the debt's gone, they're going to be able to ramp up their savings again and not then go into debt. They're going to be able to give more freely and with more joy, because they're actually doing it out of cash and not causing themselves greater financial harm.
I love that. That's a great story.
So then a sad story is, sometimes you feel like you got to hit people upside the head with a 2x4. Some folks are just dense. And some of the worst experiences that I have had is meeting with couples when the husband has completely abrogated his responsibility to love and to sacrifice for his spouse. When I sit down with selfish men who do not love their wife like Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. I was meeting with this couple. This lady was working hard. She's, 63 years old. She's struggling to make ends meet, and she's trying the best she can to work, and her husband's making money, and he's got his money and she's got her money. They got separate budgets and separate bank accounts and separate financial lives. Like, guys, you got to pull this together. You gotta combine your finances. You gotta work as a team. You gotta be rowing in the same direction. You're never gonna make financial success or make progress in your world financially if you're moving in two different directions. And she wants to give, and he's not interested in giving. At the end of the day, I really don't believe the guy was a believer. And when we started thinking through, okay, working, how long you plan to work? Well, I'm going to retire next year, and I'm taking Social Security at 62. Don't do that. Don't do that. I tried as hard as I could to convince him that the most loving thing for him to do was to continue to work and to delay taking Social Security, not just for his benefit, but for the benefit of his wife. And he says, no, I'm not going to do that. I worked hard. I put all these years in. I don't have a long life expectancy. I want to have my Social Security early because I want to be able to enjoy my life.
Wow.
And he would not see his wife sitting next to him in tears because she has almost no savings. All they're going to have in retirement is Social Security, and it's going to be a small and meager benefit at that. And he did not care about the fact that he will likely pass away within a couple of years of retirement, leaving her 20, 30, 35 years as a widow in retirement on a fixed income with a very small benefit.
Wow.
And that memory just is seared in my mind about how you do not, this is not how you show love to your spouse. Do not be so selfish and short-sighted to only think about the me, the here, and the now.
I think for every one story like that, there's probably 10 stories of joy and of life change. And it's a wild, because money is so sensitive and difficult to talk about. Every time you guys come back from the road, we're always like, all right, what happened?
What happened? Exactly.
Can I tell you one more story?
Yeah. Oh, please.
This is a good story. Working with couples is both at the same time some of the hardest work we do and some of the most rewarding work we do. Yeah. And I got to meet with this one couple. They were a couple of substantial means. And they had, estate tax issues. They had lots of complications. It was a Brady Bunch kind of marriage where he had kids and, married someone who's younger than he was. So as we're trying to work through how do we deal with the estate plan for these things, they were woefully unprepared from an estate planning perspective to deal with the complications that have arisen in their financial world. So I worked with them, and it took me several hours to be able to help me understand the complications of their world, and then to come to them with recommendations, suggestions to be able to honor both spouses and both the families and both of their desires and do well and give more to the Lord's work. And I actually recently heard back from this couple. They were able to take the plan that I had given them, work with it through an attorney, got everything in order, and now have a fully realized estate plan in place. And she says to me, Tim, thank you. This was a point of contention in their marriage, and they came together unified and moving forward and really happy that they now have a solution to something that was a thorn in their marriage for a number of years that now they're able to move forward with. So they feel that they have much better confidence to move forward as stewards because they now have a plan to deal with things when the Lord calls the first one of them.
I love that story. And that's what drives us. I mean, we love the business aspect when it comes to our parent company as what you do, but we love giving counsel and advice, and we love helping people become better stewards of what God's put into their care. Just one brief story. I do a lot of pastors' conferences. I go and I either attend as kind of like an exhibitor, or I will go and I will speak, which I'll be doing in the next couple of weeks. I'll be doing that. And I just remember I was at a pastor's conference. I met a pastor from the lower part of our United States, and he was intrigued with what we did. And I mentioned to him about the personal stewardship reviews, and his ears perked up. He says, "You're serious? Free?" I said, "Absolutely." I said, "Especially for you as a pastor." I said, "I will give my time for it." And because we have two different tracks, personal finance, budgeting, and debt elimination, that's one track that I get the joy of being part of. And then we have the investment, tax, and retirement, where we would have Tim and other team members step in and talk because that's their expertise. So this pastor said, "Hey, I really need the budgeting piece. It's been a challenge for my wife and I." So we wound up setting up that time. We did a Zoom call. That was about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, year and a half, give or take. And out of the blue, he reaches out to me just less than a month ago and says, "Hey, I just want to let you know, my wife and I have implemented all that you shared with us. We've been diligently putting it together. Our financial picture has radically changed. I love what you had to say to the two of us, so much so my church needs to hear this. How do I get you down here to serve with your Life Institute?" I love that. I mean, I get excited about those things because our goal, we want to help people become better stewards in everything they have, but we love it when a pastor turns the ship, and we love it when the pastor sees the value in what we do to the point where we're saying, my people need this also.
Drew mentioned that sometimes we go to conferences, right? And we're exhibitors. Well, for you guys that are listening to the podcast, we'll be in Atlanta, Georgia this September, just a few months away at G3 conference at the National Conference. We actually have a booth on Podcast Row. So if you go to that conference, if you're in the Atlanta area or you're traveling in, make sure you stop by and say hello.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
In fact, all three of us are going to be there, and we're going to be podcasting. Though we will have a little bit about Life Institute that will be there, but we will be doing a couple episodes live while we're down there. So please stop by. We'd love to get you on air with us.
So there's a couple of stories that actually, a couple of testimonies that past seminar attendees and even I think a pastor or two have sent in to us as a token of appreciation. And I think it'd be cool to listen to some of those.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, cool.
Hello, my name is Craig Frazier. I'm the pastor of Swamp Christian Fellowship, and I'd like to share just some of the good things that happened from when we had a stewardship lifestyle seminar at our church. One, it was great for some of our people to hear biblical stewardship principles from someone other than myself. We teach it, but sometimes people need to hear it from others for it to click or to have a deeper impact. And that was the case with us. Also, many of the people in our church were moved further along in their journey of faithful stewardship. Some people started at the very beginning of making a budget, getting out of debt, and starting to give to the Lord. Others who are further down their journeys were able to continue in giving more and be a better manager, steward of what God has given them. And also, it helped myself and my family. Helped us to be better stewards of our savings and to be more wise in the decisions that we were doing, my wife and I, with the money that God has entrusted to us for us to use for His purposes. We're very grateful that they came out.
I remember that seminar. That was a great time. And you know what? One of the joys is when I get to be able to be part of a seminar that is actually close to home. This was here in the Pennsylvania area, not far from our office, one that I joyously was able to drive back and forth and sleep in my own bed. I kind of enjoy that. But the impact that this church, and here's the unique thing about this awesome church, This church started as a land grant from William Penn.
Oh, wow.
Before the Revolutionary War. I mean, they're building, the thickness of the field stones that they have were probably 2 feet thick, and it's just amazing. And they're still using that old church building during not during the summer months because there's no air conditioning in it, but the rest of the year. They're doing a neat work there, and I'm excited that we were able to have a small part. And Craig and his team there, they're excited. We keep in touch because we've had a very solid impact with not just Pastor Craig and his wife, but also the people there.
Pastor Craig was really cool. He had some experience with audio production, so we chatted about the podcast a lot. And one of his other fun hobbies that I've personally enjoyed every single day since this seminar is he makes smoked mesquite salt. Every day I'm putting that on my eggs, man. That's good stuff. Thank you, Pastor Craig. I really appreciate you. I'll be seeing you at some point to maybe restock.
Get a restock on the salt. That's for sure.
Well, we got another file here from a Pastor John Beeson from New Life Bible Fellowship in Arizona,
Tucson.
Yeah. All right, let's listen to that one.
Hey, Drew, Tim, and Tyler. Hey, this is John from New Life Bible Fellowship in Tucson, Arizona, and we are so grateful for you. Thanks for coming out last year and making a huge impact on our church. One of the things that I'm just so grateful for is just the holistic leadership, the biblical leadership that impacted not only our whole congregation, but me personally. I think of the way that my wife and I have grown in our financial journey over this past year. I think of the steps that you've helped take us through and others in our congregation. One of the things that I love is it's so biblical, but also so practical. And you continue that education through Stewardology as well. And so I know you're impacting myself and many others, and man, we sure are grateful for you. God bless you.
You know, an exciting thing about Pastor John, I mean, he just as you hear him, he's the real deal. He lives his life on his shirt sleeve. He shares right from his heart and from the scriptures, and the way that the connection. Fun little story. I connected with him pre-pandemic, and everything kind of like fell off during pandemic times. And it was like a year and a half. He reached out and said, "Hey, I want to rekindle the relationship and the connection and see what we can do to maybe have Life Institute come and serve." And I emailed him back. I said, lunch next week? ? He goes, lunch next week. I said, yeah, I'm actually going to be in town. So I was able to take a day and scoot on down. And Angel and I went down and spent some time with him and his entire leadership team. He's part of an amazing church. It's growing. It's impacting the suburbs of Tucson in a powerful way and seeing some major growth. And for them specifically, their goal is to do some expansion so they can have greater kingdom impact. He has become not just an avid listener, but he is now a friend of our ministry and a friend. He and I we were going back and forth. He was putting some materials together. I just love the connections we're making with pastors. We're coming in to be able to help them and their church become better stewards. And here we did just that. It didn't just help his church, but he himself shared, him and his wife's name is Angel, sweetheart of a gal. It has revolutionized what they are doing personally with their finances so they can actually be more intentional with what God has given them to serve the Lord wholeheartedly. And he's got a great team of people around him, great ministry. We actually served there for an entire week. It's quite a large church, and loved that opportunity. And I just want to say shout out to you, Pastor John. Thank you for being, number one, an avid listener of our podcast. You email us regularly, and don't stop that. We want to interact with you that way. But also, again, thank you for letting us serve you and your people.
Yeah.
So the last recording that I have is actually not from a pastor. He's not even a seminar attender.
No.
He's just a listener of the podcast who wanted to send in.
Just
a listener.
Just
Mark, we
our
love
buddy
you.
Mark.
Yeah.
We love Mark.
We do love Mark. He's awesome. He's a Stewardology evangelist, but more
Amen.
importantly, a Jesus evangelist down in Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
So let's listen to what he has to say.
Hey guys, my name is Mark Paz. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I'm a listener of the Stewardology Podcast. I've been listening to you guys since January 31st of last year. I just want to briefly appreciate what you guys do each week through your podcast. It's been really helpful to me and has shaped the way I steward God's provisions. Some of the ways that the Stewardology Podcast has influenced me in my personal stewardship journey has been in the way I structure my budget now. Before I started listening to the Stewardology Podcast, my budget was a mess. I had too many different categories, and it was very hard to keep myself organized. From the first episode, I heard the biblical framework of give, save, spend, offering, and luxury. And this helped me to simplify my budget, but also gave me reason and purpose for setting money apart in these categories. I also appreciate the numerous on-air encouragements to be generous towards others in our local church or those in our community that are in need. This has encouraged me to make changes and use the offering category to be generous towards others. I've also used it to buy gospel booklets from a Christian ministry to hand out to people that I run into. Another thing would be that you encourage me to be kingdom-minded and live my life in worship to God through the finances He blesses me with, and to have my mind set on eternity and not living my best life now. Thank you for all that you do. I truly appreciate you and give glory to God for the wisdom He's given to you. God bless you guys.
Tyler,
Thank
what do
you,
you
Mark.
think? Yeah, you've had some good interaction with him also.
I love Mark. He's awesome. He's just a good guy. He's genuine. It's just good stuff. We really appreciate guys like him.
He's one of our, as you said, Tyler, one of our faithful evangelists. He learned about us. He started listening to us. He reached out. I did a stewardship review with him, and that was the real point of game-changing for him in his personal finance and budgeting, to the point where how often does Mark reach out to us to hook up with some new swag from us?
Yeah. I mean, a couple times a year. That being said, if you would like us to send you some business cards or stickers for Stewardology, we'd be happy to send you some to be able to share, the message of stewardship. But Mark is one that does that all the time, and it's super cool to see the impact that's happening in the Houston area.
Yeah.
We're grateful for him, but I also want to make it known, we've just highlighted 3.
Yeah.
Every single listener that has joined us over these 4.5 years we've been doing this, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You've given us space to be able to share with you guys what the scriptures say about money, finances, stewardship, possessions, taxes, investing, budgeting. It's been a joy, and we're not done. I honestly, we're getting ready to jump into some new avenues and exciting arenas in these upcoming days. So if you've been with us for a while, keep an ear to the ground. We got more coming.
So if you are looking to help your church take its next step in biblical financial stewardship, consider reaching out to us. We'd love to have a conversation with you about what it might look like to have Life Institute and the Stewardship Lifestyle Seminar partner with you and your church and your ministry to help impact the lives that are in your church community. That's probably our favorite thing to do. Is we love being on the road. We love doing these seminars and seeing the impact. A little bit of what we've shared here, again, is just touching the surface of what we've seen God do. And so we're super thankful about that. We're not there to sell anything. There's no product we're, holding up and saying, do this, buy this. We're simply there to serve. And we want to make sure that you hear what God's word says about his resources and how to steward them well. Stewardship doesn't just happen. It's not an accident. It's a lifestyle that takes intention and discipline to develop and to curate. And the best part is it's a journey, and it gets easier over time as we practice it and as we sharpen our skills with stewardship. It can be really intimidating. For the first time you're sitting down with somebody and they're giving you all these suggestions on how to do things better. And that's where our team, I think, has a skill set where we're counselors at heart. We're educators. We want you to know why we're encouraging you to do certain things. So know this: when you work with Life Institute, when you work with Stewardology, we're there to help you and to educate you and to guide you and to help you take your next steps in biblical financial stewardship. If you aren't sure yet about taking your whole church through this, that's the beauty of this podcast. Our goal initially was to take our seminar and take our content and break it down and put it out into podcast form. And we like doing it so much, we're still here. And so stick with us for a while, right? Stick with this podcast. And if you have questions, reach out. We'd be happy to talk to you. Drew here is probably the one that's going to talk to you about our seminars.
Absolutely.
And walk with you through that. And he's helpful. Don't be afraid of him. His head's shiny, but he's approachable. Trust me.
Yep. They tell me that all the time. I got the shiny head.
That's right.
Rub it for good luck.
Rub it for good luck. Hey, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us with this episode of the Stewardology Podcast. We count it a privilege that you have allowed us to take some of your time and kind of get you to think and hopefully laugh a little bit with us as we put this together. We highly encourage questions. We want questions, comments, thoughts. If you have that, stewardologypodcast.com/idea, especially if you have ideas of future episodes. Take advantage of our free personal stewardship reviews. We are so honored to be able to do those. And again, let us know whether it's personal finance, budgeting, and debt elimination, or investment, tax, and retirement planning. We'll get you set up with the right team member on our part. But to do that, go to stewardologypodcast.com/review. Consider giving us a review wherever you listen to us. Even those few people on Pandora that are out there. We got a few. And I'll just say shout out to you, Chris, because you tell me you're one of those few.
That's right.
But with that in mind, give us a review. We'd love to be able to get that and break through some of the algorithms so we can get this message of biblical stewardship out to many, many more people. And visit our website, stewardologypodcast.com, for other great ideas and also our show notes to be able to get you moving in that right direction. We just want to say again, thank you so much. We share these stories on the road because we have a joy of serving you, the individual church member and the local church, to help us all become better stewards for greater kingdom impact.
Thanks for joining us on the Stewardology Podcast, where financial stewardship and theology meet. We'd like to help you take your next steps in biblical financial stewardship. Subscribe in your podcast provider to get the newest episode delivered to you every week. Leave a 5-star rating and review to help new listeners find the show. Take advantage of your free personal stewardship review at stewardologypodcast.com/review. Be sure to follow us on social media and visit our website at stewardologypodcast.com for tons of free resources and hundreds of free episodes. You can also leave episode ideas at stewardologypodcast.com/idea. Remember, Psalm 20, verse 7, some trust in chariots and some trust in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. See you next week.